7 o'clock, March 28th, 2018. I call the regular meeting of the Hawthorne Council to order. Roll call.
Bennett.
Here.
Bertolo.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Mealy.
Here.
Sinny.
Here.
Witecki.
Here.
Matthews.
Here. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting's been provided by the annual schedule of regular meetings herefore adopted and posted on the public bulletin board at the municipal building, emailed to the Hawthorne Press, the Herald News, the Record, the Gazette, and all persons who've requested the mailing of such schedule. And a copy of said schedules remained in the file in the office of the Borough Clerk from and since December 7th, 2017. Approval of the minutes. I have approval of minutes for the regular meeting of January 3rd and 17th, February 21st of 2018, and the bid minutes of March 13th for the 2018 custodial services. Can I have a motion? Motion by Bertolo, second by Witecki. Any discussion? Roll call.
Witecki.
Yes.
Sinny.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment. Agenda items only, 5-minute limit. I now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard, please raise your hand to be recognized. Come forward to the microphone, state your name and address. There is a separate section if you're looking for the cannabis ordinance.
Okay.
Every ordinance.
Can we speak twice or no?
That was kind of prejudgmental, wasn't it?
No, I saw that side.
Shut up. Can I speak twice? Because I have another issue also.
I don't think it's.
If it's on the agenda.
If it's on the agenda,
You can speak at the end.
you can
during
speak at the end too. There's generally, you can talk about anything.
Okay, thank you.
General public comment. Right.
Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Lane, second by Sinning. Roll call.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, we'll jump to you for the State County Poster Contest winners.
Thank you, Council President. As you know, each year, the Passaic County Clerk has a poster contest in which they invite school children to enter and submit drawings. And Hawthorne generally does very well every year, and this year really was no exception. First, I want to acknowledge that in the audience tonight is our superintendent of schools, plus several board members from the Hawthorne school system, and David Seidman from the Hawthorne Christian Academy. So we welcome you all, and I'd like to honor some. Now, we may be down in numbers because we were originally doing this on March 7th, then March 21st, and finally now on March 28th.
They graduated already.
Our one winner who actually got a month in the calendar is Luke Hanna. Now, I don't know, Luke's not here, but Mr. Steinman, if you would accept on behalf of Luke, we'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. Good to see you. And we have a lot of honorable mentions, and I'm not sure who's here and who's not, but let's start with Katie Davis. Is Katie here? Come on, Katie. Katie, this is for you, for your great artwork. I congratulate you. And I think Mom wants to take a picture, so we'll turn this way. I'm a politician.
You gave it away, Kat.
Next one is Sebastian Gill. Sebastian, come on up. Sebastian, congratulations, and I think Dad wants a picture with us, so let's make sure Dad gets you and your certificate in the picture. Thank you. Okay. Is Lucas Iviera here? No, Lucas didn't make it. We'll give him a certificate another point. How about Adam Malastas? Adam? He's with Lucas, apparently. Oh, no, he's here. No. Is he yours? Then come on up and... I'm sorry.
Is his mom on a picture?
Yeah, if you don't have your mother here to take the picture. Or your grandmother. Okay, next we have Jackson Parsons. Jackson here. Okay, we'll get it to him. I know Olivia Pissarro couldn't be here. We'll get that to Olivia. Nicole Penna. And I'm sure somebody's taking a picture. Mom over there. Your surrogate grandmother and surrogate aunt.
Thank you.
Okay, that's for you. Congratulations. Jordan Kazansoma. Is Jordan here? Oh, there you are. Somebody in the family that needs to take a picture. If not, you gotta talk to them when you get home.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Chloe Taraglia. Congratulations. You want to make sure somebody gets a picture? Because Grandpa's eating fish, it seems. All right, Chloe, thanks. Karen Velasquez. Is Karen here? All right, we'll make that up. And last but not least, Lola Villarreal. Lola? Okay, we'll get that to Lola. Council President, that concludes our presentation on the poster award.
Okay. Congratulations to all who participated. You're all winners in our book. If you would like to stay for our meeting, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to exit now, now's your opportunity.
A lot of homework you gotta get to, that's right.
So we won't be hurt, but if not, you'll be here for about 2 or 3
No, you
hours.
have to stay.
You have to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. We have adoption of ordinances. Bond ordinance 2202-18, bond ordinance providing for the road reconstruction, including milling, paving, and resurfacing, as well as curbing, handicap ramps, and related improvements on various streets and properties described herein and hereafter identified, all in the borough of Hawthorne in the county of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $960,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of bonds or notes of the borough for the financing of the same. And I open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2202-18, please raise your hand. Come to the microphone to be recognized. State your name and address. Does anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I entertain a motion that the public hearing on this ordinance be closed, and it be resolved that this ordinance was posted on the bulletin board in which public notices are customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, and available on the borough website. Copies of said ordinance were made available to the general public. Now therefore be it resolved that this ordinance be adopted and the clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bennett, second by Lane. Any discussion? Just like to point out that this is one of our largest ordinances for road reconstruction since I've been on the council. We're trying to get ahead in the next 2 years to try and make up lost ground, because it's almost impossible. You fix one street, another one, 2 die. So, trying to make an effort, yet be kindful of your tax dollars and not ask for too many of them. Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Curtolo,
yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Chouwaki,
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Bond ordinance 2203-18, a bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction and replacement of sidewalks and driveway aprons on identified sites in North Watchung Drive, Cedar Avenue, Ivan Place, 8th Avenue, as described specifically herein in the borough of Hawthorne in the county of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $120,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of bonds or notes for financing part of the cost thereof and directing special assessment of the cost thereof. Public hearing. I'll now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2203-18, please raise your hand, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address.
Good evening.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Marcel Senman, 158th Ave. I had a question with the upcoming curb and apron repairs. And either I didn't understand it correctly, or I just want to make sure I get it right. The curb in front of the apron is the city's responsibility.
Correct.
Curbs are all us, aprons
Curbs.
and sidewalks are the resident.
And the curb does come down below the apron and back up. That's the curb.
It's a dropped curb.
Okay. The only reason is when the engineers came around, they sprayed my apron. And I asked them, you know, I don't see any damage. I brought you guys some pictures if you're curious, interested. And I said, it's okay. I'll talk to the city. And they're young, they're doing their job. So I let them be on their way. But I took some pictures. From my understanding, what I see and the letter that I received in the mail, my apron looks fine. It's the curb that's deteriorated in front of the apron. So I took a few photos for you gentlemen, if you would like to see them.
Okay, you can give it to our engineer. I mean,
Sure.
Just give me your address and we'll go out and take a look at it.
You want to see the pictures?
No, I'll take it. Actually, I don't, but I will.
150. Now, when they paint it, you know, make it easy for me to see. Okay. See it?
Okay. That's a light bulb.
Wanna buy the wrong one.
Okay, we'll take a look at
I
it.
just wanna, you know.
And what's your, don't say it too loud.
You know, 863.
come down a second. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this ordinance? Okay,
Frank, we need the spelling on the gentleman's name.
did he sign?
No.
No. That's Steve.
Okay. We'll contact you tomorrow. Okay? You're welcome.
Why don't you just give the clerk your spelling of your last name?
S-E-N-M-A-N.
It's Tunsil, right?
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance be closed, that be resolved that this ordinance was posted on the public bulletin board on which public notices were customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, and available on the borough website. Copies of said ordinance were made available to the general public. Now therefore be it resolved, this ordinance be adopted, and the clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law.
So moved.
Motion by Lane, second by Bennett. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wadecki.
Yes.
Sini.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Sotolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2204-18, an ordinance to amend the bond ordinance 21-29-15, providing for road reconstruction, including milling, paving, and resurfacing, as well as curbing, handicap ramps, and related improvements on various streets and properties in and by the borough of Hawthorne in the county of Passaic, New Jersey, and adding thereto Hillcrest Avenue as an additional location thereunder. Now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2204-18, please raise your hand, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to the public, that the public hearing on this ordinance be closed, that it be resolved, this ordinance was posted in the bulletin board on which public notices are customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, available on the borough website. Copies of said ordinance were made available to the general public. Now therefore be it resolved that the ordinance be adopted and the clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law. Have a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Motion by Bennett, second by Sitting. Any discussion?
Just, Mr. President, for the benefit of the public, this ordinance and the next one are not adding any new money to the road program, but where we have balances are using money that exists to do the 2018 road program.
For alternates that came in within the budget number.
Right, and also just for these and the previous ones, it's a lot of money, but we've looked at it, and it will not increase the amount we're paying for debt service in the long term. We carefully look long term at our capital program to make sure we're not doing anything that's going to boost debt service in the future. So just for the benefit of the public, they should know that.
Thank you, sir. Did we call the roll? Roll call?
Bennett,
Yes.
Cupola,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Witecki.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2205-18, ordinance to amend bond ordinance 2154-16, providing for road reconstruction, including milling, paving, and resurfacing, as well as curbing and handicap ramps and related improvements on various streets and properties in the borough of Hawthorne and the county of Passaic, New Jersey, by adding thereto Rockledge Road as an alternate location thereunder. Public hearing, I'll now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2205-18, please raise your hand, come to the microphone, state your name and address. Does anyone wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion that the public hearing on this ordinance be closed, that it be resolved that this ordinance was posted on the bulletin board on which public notices are customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, and available on the borough website. Copies of said ordinance were made available to the general public. Now therefore be it resolved, this ordinance be adopted, and the clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law. Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Witecki, second by Bertolo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Witecki.
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2206-18, an ordinance to further amend and supplement Chapter 505, Article 3, Section 505-18, parking prohibited at all times, Schedule 13 of the Code of the Borough of Hawthorne, so as to add thereto certain additional locations. I now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2206-18, please raise your hand, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address. Does anyone wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion that the public hearing on this ordinance be closed, and that be resolved that this ordinance was posted on the bulletin board in which public notices are customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, and available on the borough website. Copies of said ordinance were made available to the general public. Now therefore be it resolved that this ordinance be adopted, and the clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mealy, second by Lane. Any discussion? Roll call.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Witecki.
Yes, ma'am.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2207-18, an ordinance to further amend, supplement the code of the Borough of Hawthorne so as to amend 540 zoning by creating section 540-8Y, prohibiting businesses engaged in the sale of medicinal and recreational marijuana or paraphernalia in any zoning district. This will be you. Public comment, I now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard regarding ordinance number 2207-18, please raise your hand, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is Lefty Grimes. I'm from East Hanover, New Jersey. It's very sad what I saw here in this town today. You have no wheelchair access anywhere in this town.
Excuse me, that's
You have
not,
your priorities all wrong.
this is
The sick and the
regarding,
dying have no access in this town. You've basically eradicated cancer from this town by denying all the sick and dying people access and denying their medicine, their medical cannabis. The sick and the dying need their medicine, and how dare you take it away from them? We're not talking about recreational because that's in the future. That doesn't even exist right now. We're talking about medical. People that are suffering right now with cancer. I guess you don't know anybody with cancer, because if you did, you would do anything you can to help them. You wouldn't give them more hoops to jump through. I'm going to ask you, Joe, to get in that wheelchair and spend a day in that wheelchair and drive around town and see how much you can get into in this town. And then imagine yourself with cancer or AIDS or some horrible disease and you need medical cannabis. How many miles do you have to go, do you think someone in a wheelchair should have to go with cancer to get their medicine? How many miles? 1, 2, 10, 20? How many? You don't have to answer to me. You don't have to answer to these people. You have to answer to God. Because when you disrespect God, when you disrespect the sick and the dying, you're disrespecting God. When you disrespect people that are suffering and you don't help them, you're disrespecting God. And I think you're a Christian. I don't know. I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. So I have no problem calling out another Christian when they're doing the wrong thing to sick and dying people. These people are sick and dying. They need your help, and you're hurting them. My friend Armando died a couple of weeks ago. He couldn't afford cannabis. He doesn't have white privilege like I do. I have white privilege. I can afford cannabis. I can afford the doctors, all the fees, the ridiculous fees, the ridiculous cannabis fees we have to pay. It's a lot of money. He was a Hispanic man in the inner city of Newark. He couldn't afford it. He risked his freedom every day to go get his treatment on the streets, on the streets of Newark, just getting his cannabis off the street. We're doing the same thing. I'm treating my illness with my cannabis. He's treating his illness with this cannabis. I'm a customer, and he's a criminal. Why? Because I have money, I have white privilege, and he doesn't? That's a class issue. That's racist. That's a race issue. How dare anybody deny somebody medicine, especially in this town? If you look at the maps of vinyl chloride and lead and mercury, we live in a red dot. New Jersey's a big red dot. We need cannabis in this town. You have fentanyl in this town. You sell fentanyl and OxyContin. You're killing people in this town. Why don't you give them cannabis? Why are you denying people medicine? Don't tell me that it's recreational. There is no distinction. Right now, you're talking about people suffering and people dying now. Right now, there are people dying in your town. They can't be here right now because they're homesick and dying. They can't be here to fight for their lives. We've had people come to these meetings and fight for their lives wearing colostomy bags, wearing chemo bags, fighting for their lives, waiting for their medicine to be in their town, waiting for Chris Christie to get out of office so they can have the expansion of the medical cannabis program. And now you guys are making it harder for people to get their medicine. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you hurt people? You get into this job to be hurtful or helpful. Because right now you're being hurtful. And looking around this town, you have blinders on. You don't even see the civil rights violations right in front of your face in this town, everywhere. Right in front of your face. People suffering, getting in buildings. You can't get in anywhere. Nowhere. There's no access. And now there's no medicine.
In the state of New Jersey.
What's that?
Existing conditions don't need to be improved, although every time a new application comes to the planning board, we do ask new businesses to be accessible, but in some instances, some of these older places are not able to be. Doesn't make it right, but we're not violating anyone's civil liberties because of the conditions that exist. Any new construction definitely should and would conform to what you're saying.
Well, some towns have ordinances that say if you're violating a civil rights issue, you have to be aware of it.
Well, local towns can't.
I'm just making you guys aware
enforce-
of it, that it's a civil rights issue, and you're violating it.
Oh, no, the town is not violating it.
People can't get into these shops.
Well, that has
We're-
nothing
we're-
to-
we're
those are
handicapped
private
people.
businesses, and they have approvals to be there, and the state of New Jersey is not giving them warnings or even fines for not being accessible. If they were to expand or redo a certain percentage, then the local building codes would enforce the state building code. Hawthorne does not have a building code. We enact the state building code.
Some towns have taken upon themselves to be proactive and put ramps in because they're compassionate towards the sick and the dying.
And we
So I
ask for that every
suggest-
time a business comes to the planning board, that in certain, like if you're a doctor, then you definitely have to. There are requirements.
You have 2 dentists in this town without access, 2, at least, that I've seen, just on
I
Lafayette Road.
don't doubt it.
And we need to be compassionate towards the sick and dying as Christians, and we're not. And you're playing political football with cancer patients right now, and I don't like it. I don't like what these councils are doing all over New Jersey, and we're following every council that does this. And we're bringing the sick people with us, but they can't be here tonight. My friend Jeff, his wife drives an hour to get his medicine down the shore, because there's no medicine down the shore for him. His wife has to drive an hour. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not American. At the end of our podcast, every Thursday in Trenton, we do an ode to our friends who died, because I see people dying all the time, people suffering. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we,
Excuse me, sir.
Oh.
Would you please sign your name on the paper? Thank you so much. Name and address. Thank you.
Before we continue for further comments, I just want to clarify a few things that were posted on various Facebook pages. Number one, we're not trying to ban the use of medical marijuana or the use of it for recreational purposes if made legal. This ordinance is a zoning ordinance that states that we do not feel a dispensary is consistent with our borough master plan. It's been reviewed by the planning board, and that agency has also concurred. There are also those who said that we're passing up an opportunity to make revenue off of the sales of marijuana. Well, the state will receive hefty taxes, as our last speaker stated, but the borough will receive no revenue from it. There also said that we could charge for a license like a liquor license. Well, the state determines liquor licenses, and we have no indication that they're going to be issuing licenses for us to sell for cannabis dispensaries. There was also only talk of about 75 dispensaries being located throughout the state, but there's a bill in front of the Senate, or the Assembly, I think it's Assembly, that states that there'll be 500 of them. You know, those of us that talked about it prior, they said, oh, Little Hawthorne's never going to be on anybody's radar, when it's only about 75 dispensaries throughout the state. Well, 500, our odds just went up. We stated at the introduction of this ordinance that if chain or local drugstores start to dispense medical marijuana in the future, we'll reevaluate our position on the medical sales. To some, we're reacting too slow or actually too quick for something that's not even happened yet. We'd rather put a ban in place now and react once things unfold in the future, instead of potentially being a test site for an unknown consequence of our state leaders' decisions. I've stated in the past, I only care about what happens in Hawthorne. I often question the wisdom of those higher up the political ladder. Ordinances are not carved in stone. Any law can change over time to adjust to a new condition. We're not trying to take anyone's health remedy away. We just don't feel it's something that is a good fit in our town for a dispensary. So does anyone else wish to be heard? State your name and address and sign in for the clerk.
My name is Hugh Giordano. I live in Gloucester Township, 57 Argyle Avenue. So I'm here tonight to fight against this ordinance. Again, my name is Hugh Giordano. I'm a union representative for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, Local 152. We have approximately 1.2 million members across the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico. We represent people in retail, warehouses, healthcare, and we also represent cannabis workers in both the medical dispensaries and also adult use dispensaries. So this is a direct attack against the UFCW, this is a direct attack against our membership, and this is a direct attack against the working class. I read the article that came out in the paper, so I don't usually have notes, but I thought it was important to stay on topic and have my notes prepared. First off, it is estimated that by 2020, cannabis will create over 250,000 jobs, outpacing manufacturing, public utilities, and public service jobs, such as government. So by attacking cannabis, you are attacking a market, a job creator that will create more jobs than even manufacturing, which was held this country together for many years, but which is falling now. It is also estimated that workers will make above the quote-unquote living wage of $15 an hour. Let me give you an example about this. In Minnesota, the first medical dispensary was organized under the UFCW. The custodian made $18 an hour, full benefits and pension. The lab techs made $22 an hour, full benefits and pension. And the head cultivators make $2,200 a week, full benefits and pension. These are good union labor jobs. These are also jobs that create a wage that is not forced. I know many people believe $15 minimum wage is a forced minimum wage. It is not consistent with economic values. But let me make it clear. These cannabis jobs are hard-working, natural wage jobs, not forced. If we look also at entrepreneurship, let's talk about this for a second, specifically since there are many Republicans on this who talk about small business. As a unionist, I believe in small businessmen and women. And let me make this clear. It is estimated that 36% of women within the cannabis industry are, 36% of the industry is run by women, CEOs. It is also estimated that 63% of women are in high executive positions outside of this. So that means that women have a big trail in this. If you look at it on the national average, only 5% of women on the national average are in CEO positions, and only 25% of women are in top executive positions. So by fighting cannabis, you are stopping young women entrepreneurs from getting their jobs and creating businesses. And this is outside of the dispensaries. It's not just dispensaries. If we also look at it from a small business way, 1/3 of people who get involved in what's called the caregiving side of cannabis, these are small businesses. That's the title they give them, caregivers. 1/3 start with $50,000 or less to start their business. This is a direct attack on small business people. There's no question about it. The stats are there. It also shows that almost 50% past that, so less than 1/3 of 50,000 or less, and 50% less than almost 50% started with $100,000 or less. So this is a direct attack on small business. 70% of those people said that in the first 12 months they created profit. 70%. And I want to make this clear too that my data is data from Forbes. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Green, or a Libertarian. Forbes is a source that you can trust. So if we're looking at it too, it's more than just dispensaries. The USCW represents people in cultivation operation, medical dispensaries, adult use, infused edibles, service firms such as security, software, and setup. So you're not only attacking the UFCW, you're attacking IBEW, the pipe fitters, and other unions too who would build these places and make a good living wage for their families. Construction jobs. We're always talking about infrastructure. These are natural construction jobs. If you look at it too, a lot of the people that get into these auxiliary things, such as service for security, are retired police officers. I've done my research. I can tell you this: many of the people getting are retired police officers or veterans who start these firms. So you're attacking retired police officers too, who could get a good wage after being an FOP or PBA member. It is estimated too that by 2025, cannabis will be worth $24 billion. $24 billion. And that's just based off the current market, not based on the entire legalization when it happens. People, the estimate, Forbes has said that the average person spends $1,500 a month on a year on their pets. It is estimated that people spend $1,900 on cannabis. So consumers are asking for this. I also want to make it clear that the UCW has an apprenticeship program. We started in California where we work with the state. One of the comments that was made was, well, people go buy cigarettes for people that are underage. Well, cigarettes and alcohol, we compare it to the alcohol industry. Teamsters represent the alcohol industry. I don't see Teamsters passing out 30 packs of Budweiser, vodka, Smirnoff to kids. It's not going to happen. Why? Because those workers are hardworking men and women who show up, are well-trained, go through their apprenticeship program. They get a good wage and good benefit. No one's going to risk that. The cannabis industry is the same exact way. Our apprenticeship program trains our people how to dispense the medicine and or adult use. So no one's going to risk their career to give out a dime bag to a child outside. Just like a teacher wouldn't do it giving out a Budweiser pack. It's just not going to happen. Now look, if people break the law, you prosecute them. That's why we have laws for it. Same thing with alcohol and tobacco. I want to say that so one of the things was talked about, well, you can't get a job if you're under the influence, so it'll hurt people getting jobs. Well, you know what? Why don't you take the step forward and pass a resolution or an ordinance on a local level to protect working class people who are in the medical program from getting fired because of their medication? They don't get fired for opioids. Well, they should be protected too. So you can take the stand on that. Under the influence, how can we tell the under influence there's no test? That's wrong. There are tests. I was actually at Trenton when they had the first hearing on this. And there was many doctors there, people with MDs, who I trust much more than folks that don't have that. And they said that there's ways swabs, male swabs is a great way, and they can also test between inactive and active THC. The tests are there. So to say they're not around, bogus, baloney. I heard it from MDs. I heard it right from their mouths. I want to say too, talk about deaths, LIUNA, which is the laborers union. IBEW has just announced that on a national level, both the United States and in Canada, that they're going to start allowing their union membership to use their health and welfare program to get medical cannabis instead of opioids. Because their membership gets hurt a lot, because they do physical work. And they rather see their members go on medical cannabis because they see how many families get torn apart from legalized medication that you did deal out in this place as well. 3 out of 5 people that get on opioids start on legal medicine, and that's from the federal government. That's, again, you can research that. I have all these sources. I guess a couple more things, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate it. We look at it by voting against this, you are supporting the black market. Whether you ban it or not, it's still going to be in this town, and people are going to get it from the black market then, which means you collect no tax revenues. It also, the black market is the real gateway drug.
We don't collect any tax revenues here anyway.
I What you'll get, well, you got on the cannabis, you'll get it through the 3% that you're guaranteed. The state law says that if you block it, you get nothing. You're guaranteed 3% of the estimated $300 million and $500 million in tax revenues from the state, and that is public record. It's in there. These studies have been done. Also, if you look at it, someone said about going to the hospital from drugs. I had to take them because they're drugs. I'm sure they were drugs. I'm sure they weren't cannabis. More people have died from choking on a peanut than they have died from cannabis. There's been 0 reported deaths from overdoses from cannabis, and that is on from the federal government. So look, I think it's clear. We believe that as a UFCW, as a union, that I vote for this to ban cannabis in any form, whether medical or adult use, is a direct attack. You don't have to be pro-labor. It's a direct attack against small business, against women, against the working men and the working class, and working women within the working class. Bottom line, it's not about being pro-union, it's about pro-facts at this point. And I wanted to say real quick in closing, I want to give Councilman Bennett kudos. Factual. I read what you said. Factual. And all your facts can be backed up on paper. I heard researchers from Rutgers, doctors, head of the MD, head of Dr. Rutgers said that it is not a gateway drug. Heard it. Right from both psychiatrists as well. Heard it from their voice. Trust them. And I want to say that, no offense to the mayor, he took a shot at you for being a libertarian. Good for you.
I wear the badge.
I hope you change the Libertarian Party because they deserve you, not the Republican Party.
Well, no, the Republican Party needs a token libertarian.
Well, you're a good man, and I want to say thank you, and I hope that you table this ordinance. The bill says you have up to a year, once the bill's passed, to pass an ordinance. So wait till the law is done on the rec side. There's a medical program now. And you're hurting patients, and you're hurting the working class. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Young lady.
Came up here without a pen, so.
You can just
One
sign the
just fell on
bottom
the
here.
floor. There's one on the floor by your feet.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
no, it's okay. I admit I did not come up here with prepared comments, so I want to thank you guys for listening to me. My name is Rachel Lutz. I live at 399 Central, and I'm a historian and a local teacher. I went to Rutgers. And I just want to say that passing a sort of preemptive act banning the creation of what would be a really legal business feels, from my standpoint as a professional historian, feels really short-sighted because we don't know what the future is going to tell us is appropriate once a state law has been passed. So to pass a local ordinance banning what might be, and what already is, a legal business at the medical level just really feels like a partisan move, and I think it's beneath us as a town to sort of go that way with this ordinance. So I encourage you guys to think about what the future might say about this bill and what it means for Hawthorne to be one of a handful of towns who says, no, we don't want a business that could offer the kind of benefits that the gentleman that came before me suggested. I think it would be short-sighted, and I think that the benefits of having such a powerfully positive business on a legal issue outweigh any outdated ideas about what pot or marijuana mean culturally in the early or in the mid-20th century. So thank you for listening.
Gentleman in the back.
Hello, my name is Anthony Agner. I live at 121 Kingston Ave. I live in Hawthorne my whole life. I just want to take this time, I thank you for letting me speak, to touch on a few things I mentioned, especially in the previous meeting when this ordinance was introduced. One thing that was mentioned was the fact of if we allowed dispensaries in the town, that we'd have to train the police force and the amount of money it would take to go towards that. Isn't that something we're going to have to do regardless of whether there's a dispensary in town or not? Because there's going to be, as I said, cannabis users in town, whether there's a dispensary or not. So it seems a moot point to bring up why we wouldn't want a dispensary in the town. I was saying that dispensaries don't come into like our master plan for Hawthorne. I'm not sure what you think a dispensary is or how it is. It's not like we took our street corner drug dealer and gave him a retail space. A lot of dispensaries in towns in states that have legalized it are very nice, very clean storefronts, which is almost like a jewelry store in which all the products is under glass, in glass cases, And then you have the experts there to help you find exactly what you need, almost like a sommelier pairing wine with your dinner. There's a lot of benefits that come from that. It's a very nice, clean store. And much like actually it was spoken at the symposium that was held in Atlantic City last week, it showed like in Washington State, they put a lot of restrictions out there on the advertising and signage that you could use as a business, even limiting the amount of usage of the pot leaf itself in your advertising. So it's not like if you allowed a dispensary in here that someone would be going and building a 20-foot sign with a giant pot leaf lit up and be an eyesore for the town. It'd be something that would blend into the town, and which, unless you knew about the dispensary, you wouldn't even totally know it was there. It would just be another store in the town. So I'm not sure of the damage or how it goes against the master plan, how it was brought in. And one thing that was also brought up in the previous meeting, I know from Councilman Wojcicki and Councilman Wayne specifically, saying working in hospitals, working in as a first responder, you've seen the damage that cannabis has done firsthand. That's what you both had said in the previous meeting, from what I had read at least. I'm just unsure of what you actually meant by the damage that cannabis has done and what you have seen, considering all the benefits that it has, and as it was stated previously, has had 0 overdose-related deaths. So I'm just unsure of what damage you have seen from cannabis that has partly led you to want to have this ordinance against a dispensary in town. Yes.
Well, as a first responder and also as an EMT in the borough, I've seen several people that have, I guess, smoked or done something with the cannabis and taking them to the hospital and seeing the reaction that they have and the medical condition that they're in while we're en route to the hospital and when we get to the hospital.
What condition was that from having consumed or smoked too much weed?
I can't say how much they have had.
No, but what was the condition that they were in from having smoked too much weed?
Some of them were delirious. Some of them were, they were like altered mental status. Mm-hmm. And that there, to me, is a big difference right there.
I have a statement I've already prepared. I'll read it.
Okay, that's fine. It's just also concerning me, yes, like you see like a lot of times people have either bad reactions to cannabis or say like have taken too much of an edible. You see like say altered mental state, delirious, a little nauseous, things of that nature. Overall I'm sure you've seen your fair share of people who have abused opioids and abused alcohol. Much, much worse of a reaction and concern to what you would see coming from that as opposed to someone with a little bit of an altered mental state from cannabis, if I'd be correct saying
Well,
that.
depending on what you're taking, when we are dispatched for a medical call, we have no idea what the person has taken, what past they've had with regard to whatever. So we treat them as best we can. The paramedics also are involved, and then we transport them to the hospital, and then basically that's the end of the route for us, and the hospital takes over from there.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just pointing out there the fact that it isn't an overly dangerous drug. It's not like heroin or fentanyl, something that is a massive crisis in our state as well as our country as a whole. And there are actually studies that are shown in which doctors have begun using cannabis to help treat opioid addicts and help treat opioid addiction. And so this idea of like it's a gateway drug that leads you to harder substances such as heroin and things of that nature is just false claims. And really at this point, to be totally honest, I don't believe I've heard from the ordinance being introduced and tonight any truly valid reasons as to why we shouldn't have just the option for a dispensary in the town. Whether one gets put in this town or not, who knows? We don't know at this point. No one might want to open a dispensary in Hawthorne, but I don't see why we limit that option to the town and to its people to not have that available to us and just saying, oh no, we're not going to bother with it at all.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
My name is Dan Cassini, 78 Ray Avenue Extension in town. I really don't have a lot prepared, but my first question is, this law, from what I understand from everybody saying and what I've read here, bans a dispensary. What if it turns out that, as you said before, drugstores and things like that can sell it medically?
Then we'll readdress it and amend it to include that
That's what
at
I
that
thought.
point.
That's exactly
When it's
what
more
I
of a
thought.
mainstream item, we just don't want to be the first test town, or one of the first, to go forward with it. We're not trying to say we don't want you to use it for medical reasons. I'm sure there's a lot of benefits to a lot of people. It's just strictly a zoning ordinance that we prefer not to have it sold here.
But you're open to like if.
Oh, if drugstores, Malcons, yes,
Yeah.
medically, yes.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I don't.
And we can
agree
amend our stance right now. Right now is a big unknown, so we'd rather put the brakes on in Hawthorne, and then reassess after everything gets established.
I agree. I've heard a lot of things here tonight that sounded ridiculous to me. I don't want to offend anybody, but to say that it'll give women jobs and stuff like that, or people jobs, or whatever it is, I mean, there's a lot of way to create jobs. Why don't we open up a whorehouse in town too? Because we can create jobs with that, and from what I hear, the places in Las Vegas are nice and clean and everything. I don't think that's a reason to do something like this. I do think for medical purposes, it's warranted. I also have some stuff here that I got out of the record just recently, talking about things like what other people here have said, that it kind of crushes organized crime and things like that from selling illegal marijuana, whatever it is.
They're still going to buy from the illegal sources.
There's a police chief in Colorado who said that it did exactly the opposite. We're seeing just the opposite. Organized crime groups from in and outside the country have moved into the state to grow marijuana without a license and ship it out of state. So it happens. There's also, people say it's not a gateway drug. I don't think you can blanketly say that it's not a gateway drug, because for some people it is a gateway drug. It's an introduction to it, and it leads to other things. Does it always do it? No. But there's probably many times when it does do it. I know people that did it back in the old days, because I'm an old guy, back in the 60s and stuff like that, whose lives are ruined. There's things here that write about how when you do it, some gentleman here said that you can test for it. It says here, but testing blood, urine, and saliva for marijuana use has been notoriously unreliable. We know that it can affect you. It shows here that it affects you for a couple of hours at least when you're taking it. It says right here, it does things like lower skill-based performances, think athletics and driving by about a third for up to 72 hours, said a psychologist. Some high-profile suicides were linked to edible overdoses, which is apparently a tremendous problem in areas that sell it legally, that they put it in cakes and cupcakes and things of that nature, and kids eat it because it looks good and stuff like that. And when you initially eat it, it doesn't have the effect on it. You, they say when you're smoking it or vaping it, so you eat more and more and more to get the effect, and before you know it, you've overdosed. And you can. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here that's pertinent. And to say that it won't be somehow transported to people that are not legal to buy it is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, maybe the people that are selling it won't do that, maybe, but there's always the guy outside and the kid who comes up to him and says, hey, can you go in and buy it for me? And he's legal to buy, he's of age to buy it. If it becomes illegal, he buys it and he gives it to them. People do it with alcohol now. And I just think I'm totally with it used for medical purposes, because to me, there's far many other medicines on the market that have been approved by the FDA and whatever that are as dangerous, if not more dangerous, and you hear that all the time on TV with lawyers that are very willing to sue for you, the drug companies, for things that have killed people that the FDA said is good. So I think for medical purposes, it's warranted. And like, I appreciate the fact that you said if somewhere down the road it turns that way, that if Rite Aid and Walgreens and all those other places want to sell it, then it should be available to people. Because if you're truly ill and it helps you, to me it's no more harmful than many of the other prescription medicines. But I don't think it should be available for recreational use. And to compare it to alcohol or anything else is, again, a specious argument. Because what do we need, more bad things? I mean, what, alcohol's not a problem? The cops don't pull people over for being drunk in town, and that people don't have accidents. You know, I mean, there's so many other things you can make legal to raise money. I don't agree with that. I don't think money should be the basis for making it available in Hawthorne. And I don't think it fits the face of the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Sir?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Cariello. I live at 399 Central Ave. We just happen to sit next to each other. I really just have a couple of questions. First, what would the difference be if a Melcon or a CVS or somebody wanted to sell marijuana after it was legalized versus an entrepreneur, individual person just opening up their own shop like across the street? It seems like you're more receptive to a big-time pharmacy maybe selling it as opposed to a small shop. So I'm curious what the distinction is there.
They sell other products than just that. I have no issue with, I have family members that have had cancer and they had used edibles for nausea and appetite. But they're basically buying it, through legal sources, which is fine. But like I said, it just doesn't work well in Hawthorne. If you have a certain area where we had like an industrial area that was like on a highway and like certain towns do, but we have a lot of churches and houses, there's really no zone where I would say, where would you put them? I'm not really in favor of the vape shops, but obviously it's a legal item. But we recently had a vape shop that was caught selling to underage kids in town, of which it's been a habitual problem, the one on Goffle Road, and I'm gonna ask for their certificate of compliance to be yanked because he was before the planning board and warned not to be selling paraphernalia and items like that to young kids.
Sure.
He just got caught again.
And-
So
and
it's
double
almost like
punished,
if
I
you
assume.
give me an inch, they're gonna take a mile.
Sure.
So at this point, just say no. Nancy Reagan was onto something.
Is the ordinance written in such a way that there's a clear cut where you sell too much pot versus you sell some pot and a bunch of other stuff, like a
Nope,
CVS?
the ordinance basically says right now, none.
If you sell any marijuana, you're
You're not allowed to sell any marijuana, period.
Okay, so you'd be willing to make an exception potentially for a pharmacy somewhere down the line?
I also see the way our society is going, and if it becomes more mainstream and they find out more benefits to it, then if a CVS or somebody like a large type, or Malcons, anybody else,
Sure.
they're also not gonna be trying to cut corners. I think they're gonna be a little bit corporate about it versus a mom and pop shop may not be as risking as much as a large corporation would be.
Okay. and
That's
that-
just my personal opinion, and
That's fair.
and people that I've talked to within my voting district, that they all kind of say the same thing. We don't really know what's gonna happen come down the pike.
Sure.
Could be a year, 2 years. Our governor seems to be pushing it for money. I'd rather push it for that gentleman's reasons, not push, but you know what I'm saying. I'd rather pursue the item for health issues than to make money on it, which Mr. Cassini said, there's all sorts of other problems with drugs and alcohol. Just because one isn't that bad doesn't mean for recreational use, we should introduce the ability for people to buy it.
Okay, and the other thing I want clarification on, you mentioned you didn't want Hawthorne to be like a test bed. Like the law was gonna get passed and they were just gonna come put some dispensary here and we were gonna test it out before it went anywhere else. But there's nothing written in the ordinance where Hawthorne refuses to have the first of 5 dispensaries in New Jersey or, recreational shops. Like there's nothing in the ordinance that would say, okay, this is already in other places, as long as we're not an early adopter, we're okay. This is a blanket ban.
Correct.
So what you're saying about we don't want to be first is really kind of
No, this
neither here nor there. It might be your personal opinion, but the ordinance is just, it's gone. We just don't want it, period.
Well, perhaps not first for medical, but if recreational
Well,
gets
clearly.
passed, then we could be the first. You never know.
But not if we pass the ordinance.
Well, if we pass the ordinance, then we don't have to worry about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
So moved.
And that it be resolved that this ordinance be posted in the public bulletin board on which public notices are customarily posted, published in the Hawthorne Press, available at the borough website. Copies of said ordinance are made available to the general public. Now therefore be resolved that the ordinance be adopted and clerk is authorized to advertise the same according to law. Can I have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Lane. Discussion.
Discussion?
Joe?
All right. I've said on many occasions that I vote as I believe the people I represent would like me to vote. On not one issue have I received as many phone calls, emails, conversations, and on one occasion, hate mail. I had no idea the many people that cared of the legalization of marijuana. My personal opinion on this has not changed. I believe it is the gateway drug. This has not changed. I ask the administration and council to please consider sending this to the residents of Hawthorne as a referendum. If not, I understand it would be a non-binding referendum, but if not, I will be voting no. I thank the residents of Hawthorne for reaching out to me, but please understand, negativity has nowhere to go in Hawthorne. I don't need people coming before the podium and making negative comments. It's unnecessary, and it's not like Hawthorne, and it doesn't belong here.
Joe, like you stated, a public referendum on municipal land use law does not allow the public to decide zoning ordinances. Obviously, you could get the pulse of what your community's feeling, but we're elected officials. You've communicated with your people. My people have told me the exact opposite. So we're elected to make hard decisions. Absolutely. And to have a non-binding referendum, which is not legally binding us to do anything, we're going to be right back here making up our mind anyway. So we're elected and paid to do our job. And obviously, if you're going to represent your constituents versus your personal views, then vote no. And I understand that. But, any other comments?
No, sir.
Bruce?
Yes. I hope since we introduced this, the delays Mother Nature has given us, has given everyone up here a chance to do some research, determine the facts, and eliminate some of the falsehoods. I know I did. I did a lot of research over the last few weeks, and I found two interesting items that I'd like to put out there before we take this vote. Apparently, Ocean County's freeholders are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to get preemptive by passing an ordinance that would ban the sale in that area. And in the process, their freeholder director made a very uninformed statement that marijuana was as addictive as heroin, which prompted people to do some research. And they uncovered a study that dates back from 2010. Professor David Nutt, the former chief drugs advisor to the British government, asked drug harm experts to rank 20 legal and illegal drugs on 16 measures of harm to the user and to wider society, including damage to health, dependency, economic costs, and crime. What the study showed was that it is not as addictive as heroin. In fact, in the order of ranking, alcohol was number 1, heroin, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, cocaine, tobacco, a legal substance, and amphetamines were all ahead of cannabis.
In that study?
Well, you've got to use studies, or you can, like I said earlier, refer to movies like Reefer Madness for your information. It is not a gateway drug.
Well, there are exceptions to that.
There's exceptions to
even if it's one or two
every rule.
people. How would
Okay.
you like it if your family member was the one that was addicted
You
to
have
it?
people who can take one drink and become an alcoholic.
Correct, but why
You
introduce
don't
more?
rule all of society based on the minorities. It's a majority rule. The second interesting study I found, and you can dispute this one too if you like, but it was published in the European Journal of Internal Medicine. It's a study that was done at the Ben Gurion of Negev Institute in Israel. The study found that cannabis therapy is safe and efficacious for elderly patients who are seeking to address cancer symptoms, Parkinson's disease, post-traumatic stress disorder, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, and other medical issues. The most interesting part of the story is that after 6 months of treatment, more than 93% of 901 respondents reported their pain dropped from a median of 8 to 4 on a 10-point scale. Close to 60% of patients who originally reported bad or very bad quality of life upgraded to good or very good after 6 months. And after 6 months, more than 18% of these elderly patients had stopped using opioid analgesics or had reduced their dosage. We have an opioid crisis. We have an effective means to fight it. And you guys want to ban it from Hawthorne, ban the sale of it. You want to force our elderly and our pain-ridden and our sick people to drive God knows where to try to find this stuff. I think it's wrong, and I think it's unconscionable, actually.
Okay. Dominic or John? Any comments?
I have no comment.
Okay. With that said, call the roll.
Woteki?
No.
Sinning?
Yes.
Mealy?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Bertolo?
As we said in the last meeting, I have a sore throat, so I apologize. As far as the medicinal cannabis goes, we look forward to seeing what the legislation comes out to be, to decide if there's an opportunity in Hawthorne to amend the ordinance at some point. But I think, my faith in our Trenton leadership right now is all about the dollars. And I don't believe it's about helping people that could use it. It's my opinion. So I'm voting yes for the ordinance.
Bennett?
A very proud and definite no.
Matthews?
The opposite, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, old business. Does anyone have any old business?
Yes, Frank.
John?
I guess, Eric, I had brought up to, I think it was a February meeting with regard to, on Goffle and Goffle Hill, the no turn on red sign, to see if it could be relocated from the street sign to on top where the street light is actually, so people can actually see it. And since I did that, I went through the ordinance and I did some searching with regard to different areas around town. There seems to be a number of areas where I think the ordinance has to be addressed because there's no ordinance for some areas. So what I would like to ask is if we can have the police department do a survey for us and then turn it over to the ordinance committee to review it based on their findings, so that this way, if there are no turn on red signs, at least there's an ordinance to back them up. Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing, and on one street, there was, on one side of the street, there was half-hour parking. On the other side of the street, there was 1 hour parking. So I looked up the ordinance, it's 505-70 and 505-69 with regard to 1 hour parking.
Where is this?
It's on Harrison Place.
Okay.
So, I think that's misleading to possibly the, and the ordinance does say 1 hour parking from 9 to 10 a.m. I don't know if it should be for both sides of the street or whatever, so if the police can just look at that also, please?
Okay.
No, it's all over.
Is that it, John?
That's all I have.
Dominic?
I'm okay.
Bruce?
No.
John?
I'm good.
Gary?
No.
Joe?
All right.
It's been a month.
Yeah, I know. Contractor, PSE&G, for the tree pruning schedule. I sent an email in regards to the condition for which this contractor is leaving the trees. I know John Lane has brought it up. Bruce Bennett has sent numerous photos in regards to trees and the way they've been pruned. I actually even sent an email requesting that we take legal action, and I've yet to hear back on any of this, and yet we still allow them to park on borough property. This is a company that's coming into Hawthorne, doing not so good things to borough property, and I really got to tell you that we need to take a stand. They need to stop pruning our trees to where they look horrible. You know, this company has once before paid us to replace some of our trees. I'd like to take a similar action.
Yeah, I've asked our arborist to look at, to follow up everything, and he says that there's places where it's been rather extreme, but he said that there is, you know, at this point, there is nothing that would specifically make it better, and there is a choice, there is a balance between keeping the lines clear and appearance, and doesn't believe that there's anything that's been done that is specifically negative to the trees, other than what's clearing the lines.
I
But
beg
will-
to differ
will
at the
ask-
Shade Tree Commission. That is not the report he gave. He gave the report that they are coming into town, they are pruning back further than they should be, they are
Okay,
harming our trees.
I will talk to him again, because my conversation.
Just
and I asked him to
alone,
follow
the trees along Goffel Road between Diamond Bridge and Warburton, they've gone through that whole section there, pruned back further than they should have. And he says, yes, it is difficult for them to raise the boom, to make sure that they keep it back, but in the same manner, I don't.
I will follow up
They
with
don't
him
want to
again.
hire the police officers to make sure that they have enough time to raise the boom, do what they have to. So they raise it, they cut quick, they go down. That's not my concern. My concern is the way that they're leaving the trees.
Okay, understand. So I will review with him again, and if there's anything that he believes that there's anything that there has been damage that we feel, again, I think we have to be able to show not just that's
Bruce sent
appearance.
pictures.
I know, but it's not just appearance, it's a question of is there damage to the tree? And if he says that there is, then we will seek some kind of recompense.
I'm not going to beat up on it.
Yeah, but Eric, even if you're saying it's not appearance, why would it hurt them to shape the tree instead of just cutting half of it down? You know, if they're doing it, I mean,
if
it
there's
is our
some-
tree, and
yeah,
even
there's
if
two
you're not
things.
harming the tree, it looks horrible.
A Goffel Road, he even pointed out to me that they cut down PSE&G lines but left Verizon and Cablevision. In their contract with us, they're supposed to continue going further down and clear all the lines.
In their contract with us?
Well, their bid or proposal to us when they said they were going to come, the little card that we got that got sent to everybody, it says that they're going to clear the line straight going across. So they left the tree limbs going into Verizon and Cablevision lines?
They're not contracted to do their work.
But it says in that little card that they're going to go straight
That's not, I mean,
down.
that's information that they hand out, but it's not a contract that we can still follow up, I mean, I'm not saying we won't follow up on it, we will. But I don't know that we can make them do something just because they said they were going to in informational things that they handed out.
Just
It's not
because
a
you said
contract.
Just because you said you're going to do it, we can't make you do it.
Because
God forbid.
it's not a contract, it's not something where we are allowing them to do it if they do it according to certain conditions. They're doing it because of PSE&G has a right and an obligation to clear the lines. I may not agree with how they're doing it, I may want them to clear the Verizon and cable lines. I don't think we have any authority to require them to do more than what they're required to do for
If
for
you
PSE&G.
top the trees like they did in front of Bruce's area, you're killing the tree.
If that's the case, I will ask him to give a report of anything where he believes there's damage where they're killing the trees, or if there's anything that they can do, in which case we can seek some kind of recompense, or if there's things that they can do to better shape the tree, we can see what we can do to encourage or force them to come back and do additional work to make the job better.
Thank you.
My recommendation, if I could, to the shade tree, Joe, is perhaps they could look at, obviously, public service has the right of way to go in and do what they're doing. I'm curious if there's other shade tree expertise or commissions that they've dealt with, other communities, do they have any kind of regulations, do they have any kind of guidelines that need to be followed, that when public service decides to come into Hawthorne, we have a protocol that has to be followed, whether it's, the arborist has to be, aware of where they're going. I agree with the police. As far as I'm concerned, I'd have an off-duty police officer everywhere they go, everywhere in town. They're impeding traffic, whether they're on a side street, whether they're on a main
I
street.
prefer an off-duty arborist.
Well,
I'll
but
be
again,
honest,
if that's our protocol and we force that, I think we have a right as a community to do that. They have the right in their right of way to trim the trees, but I think we have a right to protect our trees.
How to do
So
it.
I'd be curious to see how the Shade Tree Commission, if there's any towns that have legislation that do that.
Okay.
So in the future, we,
The point where it was made is if they just followed what they said they were gonna do in the cars, it would be a lot worse.
I agree. I don't know though that we can force that just because they put it on the card.
Any old,
I'll
other
defer
old
to the
business?
attorney, but I don't know that a
Quit
card
while
they
you're
hand
behind
out
there.
is
No,
Great. You're doing
New
just
business.
great.
Me?
Yep.
All right, new business. All right, so I always try to stay out of fire department issues, so I'm not speaking as a firefighter. I'm speaking of complaints I received at the vehicles that are stored on the lot adjacent to 83 North 8th Street. Looks like a junkyard.
That's the repair place that's down
That's the
below.
repair place, not the fire department.
It's the parking lot
Correct.
adjacent to the
Correct.
fire
Yes.
department, 83 North 8th Street. So just because I mentioned the word fire department, I
Okay.
don't
That
want
was fine. You could have
Michael
just
to
said
say
83
you're
North 8th Street and not mentioned fire department, but
It looks like a junkyard. So
I
I
will-
went by it last night. It does look like a
we'll
junkyard.
send our inspectors out.
Are the vehicles registered, Joe?
I don't.
We will.
I mean,
we will-
because that's
yeah,
an
right, we will-
ordinance
we will
violation.
look at
Right,
everything.
we have informed those businesses that all unregistered vehicles have to be parked inside.
But just, it's a parking lot, I get it, but they're like stacked like,
We'll look at
Straight to
whatever they
North
may be
8th Street.
violating and take action based on anything they're violating.
thank you. Next, 8 Acre Woods, I'd like the 8 Acre Woods, if we could have the Environmental Commission please take a good look at it. That last storm really, it beat up really bad. There must be between 10 and 12 trees that have been downed. One of them is lying across the, one of the bird sanctuary platforms. It took a really, really hard hit back
We
there.
can certainly ask the Environmental Commission to look at it, but it'll be Public Works that will be responsible for maintenance, so we'll have police.
I
Public
guess what
Works
I'm
take
looking
look
for
at
is a plan, because it looks like it looks like Asplund went through there.
Was there any birds on that tree?
That's what it looks like. It looks like Asplund just went through there and just cut all the trees down.
Okay.
It's possible.
We'll take a
Put
look.
that on
at-
Facebook.
I will ask Public Works to deal with the down trees. I will ask the Environmental Commission. to
My
see
next
if they
item is
have-
the same issue. All the trees that are down along the pool and along May Street. There's large branches. They've been pulled away from May Street. They're all throughout the pool. There must be 4 trees down.
Yeah, we know about that, and we will deal.
You know about
Yes, I've seen it, and we will be dealing with the trees.
It has to be, it was like, I had this note is from when the first meeting we canceled.
We were trying to deal with anything that was on the road, anything dealing with those first, and we will and then, of course, we had another snowstorm, we will deal with it.
All right, and then the last one, it's an oldie, but a goodie.
It's not warm enough yet.
Come on. I saw them painting
36
stripes.
this morning.
I saw them painting stripes. Please, Dr. Boswell. We're the only town. I'll go paint it myself with a spray paint. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Make sure you tape the lines.
No, Joe,
No, other towns, Glen Rock was spray painting. Please.
I
I'll
will
go
do
talk to
everything
their
I can to
engineer.
get it done. I would say by the next meeting, but it's only a week away, so that doesn't give me much time, but I knew we were
The
gonna bring
woman
it up.
has I don't blame her either. She has no respect that we really can't get these lines painted.
Well, no, I disagree with that. I think that's an unfair assessment. It has been below 50 degrees.
We painted 3 intersections and not the 4th.
Yeah, they were painted before it got cold. There was a mistake by not painting the 4th. It will be painted, but you can't paint it when conditions are not appropriate to paint it. That's just a fact. I've said to you, it has to be above 50 degrees.
All right. Nothing else.
Gary. John.
I'm good.
Bruce.
Yeah, I have 2 items that were brought to me by residents. First involves the tennis courts, which this woman heard that, we're putting a new surface down. And she wanted to know if it would be possible, in addition to the striping for tennis, to stripe one of those courts for pickleball.
We talked about that. That's come up before.
Yeah, she brought it up, so I said I'd find out if we could
Sure.
do that.
Absolutely.
Just one of the courts.
Yep, no problem. We
Okay.
can stripe them all for pickleballs. Doesn't cost any more to stripe them. It's just a different color tile.
Yeah, well, I'm not used to getting agreement, so I appreciate that, Steve.
Take them all. We'll try not to let it happen again.
Yeah. And
I
the second,
apologize, Mayor.
the second item I found even odder, but a resident wants to know if we can put in curbs along Hawthorne Ave, particularly in the area of 106 Hawthorne Ave. And he also asked about Goffel Road, but that's a county road. I don't know if we
Correct.
can do curbs there. But I told him Hawthorne Ave should be doable, so.
In what area on Hawthorne?
The area of 106 Hawthorne
The
Ave.
problem you're gonna have there, we just repaved that street. What I'm saying is very low, you know that. That's where we had trouble on the bend, trying to
We'll look at
pitch
it.
it.
Yeah,
We'll look at it.
I thought when we looked at that, that one of the issues was to put it in, it was gonna change the entire grade, the sidewalks, everything, and it was going
Well, I
to
mean,
be a major project. But-
Yeah, I mean, if there are
But I would
valid
defer to the
engineering.
engineer.
We'll
If
look
there are
at it.
valid engineering
If there-
reasons we can't
If there's no
do it.
reason not to, we'll do it in the 18 road program.
Okay,
If we can't do it, we'll tell you the reason.
yeah, I'd appreciate that.
106 Hawthorne Ave?
106 Hawthorne Ave.
Between Midland and Division.
All right.
That's it, that's what I got.
Dominic,
I'm okay.
John,
Yeah, I just have one item pertaining to April 15th. April 15th is the Autism Fair, Fun Fair, if that's what you want to call it, at the Hawthorne Ambulance Building. I'd like to invite everybody to come out. There's going to be a lot of vendors there. Usually, we get about 1,000 people in and out throughout the course of the day. It runs from about 11 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If you want to get your hair painted blue or have a blue stripe, that's fine. But come out. It's a very worthwhile day to be there. There's going to be a lot of vendors there selling some stuff. So I encourage everybody to come out because the money that they raise there, they also help a lot of the autism children and people that we have in our own community. So be at the ambulance building, 970 Goffel Road. So come on out and spend some time and enjoy yourself for a very good cause for this town. That's all I have, Frank.
okay. Mayor, turning to you for the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Council President. First, the borough was pleased to announce that the Hawthorne Great American Garage Sale will be held on Saturday, May 5th from 9 to 3. Registration forms are online and in the administration office. Remember, there's no charge to have a garage sale that day, but you must register to have the garage sale that day because we put out a map with everybody who's participating. And we do that the week of bulky waste so that whatever you don't sell and you want to throw away, you have the ability to do that.
What date again, Mayor?
May 5th. May 5th. Just a reminder, the borough office will be closed this Friday for Good Friday. Also, please note that yard waste collection begins April. And I think a lot of us need that with some of these storms that have knocked down branches and whatever. A reminder that the borough shred event is scheduled for Saturday, April 21st from 9 to 1 here in the municipal building parking lot. Limit of 3 boxes or bags per resident. Should you have more than that, additional boxes up to 3 will cost you $5 a box. Some of you may have noticed that there is a nationwide program going on called You Drive, You Text, You Pay, Distracted Driving Crackdown from April 1st to April 21st. And I have Lieutenant Nepper of the Police Department here to receive this award, or this proclamation. So.
I thought he won the poster contest.
I know what you're getting at.
You might believe that.
I don't think he has the artistic ability.
Whereas distracted driving is a serious life-threatening practice that is preventable. Whereas distracted driving can result in injuries and deaths to all road users, motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. And whereas distracted driving occurs when drivers divert their attention away from the task of driving to focus on another activity instead. Whereas in a 1-year period alone, distracted driving-related crashes resulted in 3,477 deaths and 391,000 injuries on our nation's roads. Whereas in New Jersey, distracted driving was listed as contributing circumstances in nearly 750,000 crashes in a 4-year study. And whereas the state of New Jersey will participate in the nationwide distracted driving 2008 crackdown from April 1st to April 21st, 2008, in an effort to raise awareness to decrease driver distraction through a combination of enforcement and education. Whereas the national slogan for the campaign is "You drive, you pay." And whereas a reduction in distracted driving in New Jersey will save lives on our roadways, therefore be it declined that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Hawthorne declares its support for distracted driving 2018 crackdown, both locally and nationally from April 1st to April 21st, and pledges to increase awareness of the danger of distracted driving. It's signed by me and the entire council, and we present this to the police department.
I'm sure this will go a long way as support with the council and the mayor has always done with our town, so we do appreciate it. Chief McCall apologizes for not being here yet, previous engagement, otherwise we would have been attending. Okay? Thank you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Also, in March, there was an event in Trenton when Councilman Lane was recognized for his service to the state as a councilman and was inducted into the League of Municipalities Elected Officials Hall of Fame. So, John, if you want to come down here, we have a proclamation for you as well. You may have wondered why your family, because they generally don't come together. No.
Make sure you show them where the camera is.
I think that John knows where it is.
No.
And John, this says, whereas John B. Lane has served as an elected councilman of the Borough of Hawthorne for 20 years, whereas John's long service as a member of the council is representative of the much greater service to the community given by John, his wife Margot, and their children Megan and Brian. Whereas John has been a member of the Hawthorne Volunteer Fire Department for 48 years, in addition to serving as an assistant chief, he served as president of the Hawthorne Firemen's Relief Organization 27 years. Whereas John has served as a member of the executive committee and was legislative chairman of the New Jersey State Firemen's Relief Association, is a life member of the State Firemen's Relief Association and the New Jersey State Exempt Firemen's Association. And whereas in 2005, John was awarded a citation bar for exceptional duty by the Hawthorne Fire Department, and in 2006 was named State County Firefighter of the Year and the County VFW District 1. And whereas John is a devoted EMT, running on ambulance calls in Hawthorne and Mahwah, and served as president of the Hawthorne Volunteer Ambulance Corps, was also named EMT of the Year in 2005. Nothing for a long time.
It's gone downhill since then.
Whereas John was an active business owner in Hawthorne, serving as president of the Hawthorne Chamber of Commerce, and has been a member of the board of directors for over 30 years, and sponsored Lane Electric girls softball team for more than 24 years. Whereas John has served 8 years as elected trustee of the Board of Education, was vice president of the Hawthorne Planning Board, chairman of the Mayor's Economic Development Committee, president of Kiwanis Club, and co-founded the first project graduation at Hawthorne High School to provide a drug-free night of celebration for high school graduates. And whereas on March 14, 2018, the New Jersey League of Municipalities at its 26th annual Mayor's Legislative Day at the State House in Trenton honored John B. Lane for his 20 years dedicated service as an elected councilman serving the people of Hawthorne, New Jersey, by inducting him into the Elected Officials Hall of Fame. Whereas the Mayor and Municipal Council wish to commemorate this milestone by proclaiming congratulations and sincere thank you to Councilman Lane. It's signed by me and the entire council, John. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think you want to take a picture.
And you got all that on one sheet? Yeah, must be.
Do we get an oil paint?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Now one second.
Congratulations.
John, congratulations.
You're buying tonight, huh?
Way to go, old dude.
Don't watch your board now. That would have been bad. That would have been in the budget presentation. There you go.
We got a couple reports first.
Okay. Come on down. Just give us.
And then there were 7.
I guess there are now. What are you doing this? What are we doing next week? You're doing your budget next? Okay. Okay.
What's that bright light showing?
That's fluorescent. These stars don't have plugs in it. Michael?
39 degrees, 39 degrees, both PLDs. Feel free to talk among yourselves as we get our word done last weekend.
What's that? Are you drinking your water? Yes. You're drinking it. You're not?
He said, would you play Sunday? It was 30
Yeah, I'll take one. You can have yours back.
It's so much loaded on it. It's not worth it. God, I don't like that much. I like it.
We paying Swisher by the hour tonight?
No, it's a lump sum, so we're making it.
Right. And cloud. There's no snow. I said this, and that's worth plus 15. Thank you. Okay. For any member of the public who wants to review our finances in greater depth, a copy of this presentation is available on our municipal website, www.hawthorne.org, along with other documents such as financial statements, debt statements, audits, best practices, reports, and bond rating reports. Our official budget for 2018 will join them by the end of the week. We seek to be totally transparent in our financial practices. Every year we try and have a theme for our budget. This year is, you must gain control over your money or the lack of it will control you forever. And apparently this is not on. Okay. No, my clicker isn't clicking. Okay. We've got some quotes on debt that might be entertaining to some. Many delight the more in giving presents than in paying their debts. Blessed are the young, for they shall inherit the national debt. That's President Hoover. The man who never has enough money to pay his debts has too much of something else. And debt is like any other trap, easy to get into, but hard to get out of. As you may have surmised from the quotes, one of the themes of this year's budget will be addressing the borough's debt. Hawthorne's financial practices is multi-year budgeted planning, maintaining a strong financial position through a healthy surplus, refraining from deferred cost, alternative revenues, clean audits, minimizing debt, thank you. The result is a strong bond rating. We are AA2 by Moody's, and we think, even though we're pretty strong, we think we can do better, and it starts with our budget surplus or fund balance. Generally, we aim to regenerate the surplus used in our budget each year, or a little more, and as you can see through 2017, we had an especially good year creating an opportunity for us. In 2017, our surplus regeneration was extraordinary, creating an opportunity. So what happened last year? In 2017, just about any means of regenerating surplus happened, and happened significantly. Actual revenues exceeded the amounts anticipated in the 2017 budget, and we were able to cancel the unspent appropriations of 2016. Now, what are the benefits of a healthy surplus? It's always our goal to maintain a healthy surplus or fund balance. As noted previously, we retain a strong bond rating, and it allows for lower interest rates when we borrow for capital projects. And because we maintain a good surplus, for cash flow reasons, Hawthorne has no need to issue tax anticipation notes, as is done in many other municipalities. As far as the use of surplus in 2018, we use a stable amount each year to fund general operations, a number we are confident we can regenerate. Budgeted equipment and purchases in 2018 include a police computer network, a replacement vehicle for the fire official, a grinder for the main sewer pumping station, and additional electronic speed signs. And the electronic speed signs purchased in 2017 will hit the street shortly. Accumulated comp time is a real liability, and this reserve will be used to fund it. Another one-time cost is planning services for our affordable housing obligation and the upgrades to our zoning ordinance, and engineering costs for asset management system. And even after using our surplus for these normal purposes, the amount of surplus generated in 2017 leaves us a tremendous opportunity to do something else. And you may have guessed we're going to pay down our debt. The amount of surplus generated in 2017 was unusual, giving us a one-time opportunity. Retiring existing debt will lessen the burden on future budgets. Early debt retirement will save taxpayers a significant amount of interest. Our proposed debt retirement, here are the specifics of our plan to retire our debt. We are currently paying 4 to 5% interest on our 2008 bonds. $314,000 over the next 8 years. 2018 is the first year that they're callable. We can avoid interest altogether on the $1 million in notes before and after they're converted into bonds, an estimate of $295,000. Now, how do we do this without increasing taxes? We'll be using part of the surplus we generated in 2017, plus the funds known as the reserve for payment of debt that would otherwise be used to pay principal as it came due in upcoming years. By paying off the debt now, rather than wait till it comes due, we'll be saving over $600,000 in interest. An average of $63,000 per year will be saved just over the next 8 years. You can see our pie chart for budget appropriations. A significant portion of our budget is for debt retiring, 11%. That's something that's never been on our budget before to this extent. About the reserve for compensatory time, also funded via surplus, is another 1.6%. That you'll see over here. About 40% of the budget is for employees' salaries and benefits, and the reserve for uncollected taxes is not an actual expenditure, but rather an accounting mechanism to offset the school, county, and municipal taxes that was billed but not collected in the current year. You may not realize that somebody is late on their taxes, doesn't pay their taxes. We're under the obligation to pay the county and the school board regardless if someone pays their taxes or not. It's actually smaller than last year due to the improvement of our tax collection rate. Now, services funded by the municipal taxes. You can see the police, library, garbage, recycle, e-pickup, sewer, road maintenance, and everything that goes with that. Fire and ambulance service supports the volunteers, recreation, trade tree, code enforcement, and the court. Maintaining all these services at their current level is one of the goals of our budgetary planning. For all these services, the monthly cost is $190 on the average house. Compare that to your cable bill or your internet, phone, and other things. It's, we believe, quite the bargain at $190 a month. Increased cost in this year's budget. Salaries are the single biggest portion of the budget, so it's no surprise that they had the biggest increase. We were able to cut our health insurance rate significantly by shifting carriers 3 years ago, but since the rate increases have followed trends. The result rates are, though, still about what we were paying in 2015. So even though they're up 6.1% in the budget, we're really at the 2015 level. The state puts together the pension bill. It's something that we have no choice but to pay the bill when it comes, and only $29,000 in other spending. In regard to our union contracts, all contracts are settled through 2018, the PBA, the blue collar, the white collar, and all annual increases are less than 2% per year. And most of our salaries in our budget, of course, go to the unionized employees. I want to start sometimes talking about school security. Sadly, recent events have demonstrated how vulnerable our children can be. We're talking about the Parkland shooting in Florida that just kind of stunned the nation. When the school superintendent came to me in the Finance Committee asking for cooperation on a school security plan, naturally we took to find a way to help, so we added money to our budget. And we added $60,000 to help the school. We believe that there are children too in the municipality, and we have an obligation where we can. The PBA has offered to allow their members to perform school security for $25 per hour rather than our usual off-duty rate of $89 an hour. I've asked the council to introduce an ordinance tonight for the new lower off-duty rate for school hours. We can look at our general revenues. Where does our money come from? 62.7% come from taxes, property taxes. We get 6% state aid, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Our surplus funds 14.3%. And our antenna rents, we've been very aggressive in renting out space on our water tower, and we've been very successful, and we have our reserve for payment of debt of 5.8%. I want to talk a little bit about the history of state aid. In 2007, we received $2,088,646. Our budget was $17 million. That was the equivalent of 12% of our budget. 2010, Governor Christie froze state aid. As a matter of fact, the $1,468,278 reflects our energy receipts tax, which used to be paid directly to the municipality, and now the state is happy to take a percentage of that before it passes it through. But you can see in 2010, that was 8% of our budget. The number for the last 8 years has stayed flat, which means in our budget now, it only covers 6%. That's one of the reasons when I met with Governor Murphy, I told him that we didn't think the borough was getting its fair share of aid. Let's talk about ratables for a second. We had our increase of $312,395 or 0.03. Now, doesn't seem like much, but for several years, we've had a loss of ratables through 2009 through 2016 based on a collapse of the state economy. We have reached the end of just about all of our pending tax appeals, and we expect growth in 2019 and 20 due to projects like Hawthorne Square, which should be coming onto the books shortly. So what's the municipal tax impact? For the average home assessed at $182,000, it's an additional $42 or 1.9%. If you're assessed at a higher rate, you can figure $23 per $100,000 of assessment. So if your house is assessed at $300,000, it's $69, and if it's assessed at $50,000, you probably don't live in Hawthorne. So, let's look at our historical taxes, including this year. For 7 of the last 8 years, the tax rate increase has been at or below 2%. We're pretty proud of that, and I think the Council Finance Committee and the administration has worked hard. Under state rules, we could be increasing both taxes and spending significantly, but have chosen not to do that, as it's been our practice. $201,734 of unused tax cap levy authority has actually expired this season. The $1,572,745 unused cap levy authority is exaggerated because of the formula that treats our debt retirement. Even without this, though, we would have been under the cap, and we are significantly below the appropriations cap. How does the average tax bill break down? And I apologize to my friends from the Board of Education because they're always upset when I point this out. The school, on the average tax bill of $182,000, $5,768 goes to the school, $25.99 to the county, and the municipal, including the library, which is normally broken out in bills, is $2,284. We are the smallest amount of your municipal budget, of the overall budget. You can see the numbers, the school 54.4, the county 24.3, and the municipality, even though we're only 21.3, and we believe that school security money should come from the state and the federal government, but since it's not forthcoming, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that the schools have police officers in the schools and picked up that charge. Talk a minute for the water utility. The water utility budget is $3,738,913. Water fees cover all the expenditures. The utility also has a healthy surplus, which is the source of funds for paying off the ordinance and contribution to the general budget. Each year we put in $120,000, which 20 years ago was a tax point. I think it's about 140 now for a tax point. Oh, it's still 120. Good to know something hasn't gone up in 20 years. And in our capital budget, now capital budget's just a plan, it's not appropriation. All items requiring authorizing ordinances. Streets in the road program include all or portions of Hillcrest Avenue, Surrey, Greenwood, Rockledge, Park Slope Terrace, Ridge Road, Dogwood Drive, North Watchung, Cedar Avenue, Cedar Place, Florence, Mandan Terrace, Carl Avenue, and Ivan Place. And we have received a grant from the NJDOT for $220,000 for Roosevelt and Hutchinson. Just as a side note, I found out that this was the lowest grant award in Passaic County, but I guess we're used to it. That's pretty much it. The other projects are shown. We've applied for a grant to improve the tennis courts. We're going to be doing $200,000 in municipal building improvements. The Passaic Avenue sewer, $130,000, and $500,000 for communication network and equipment. We have a 6-year capital plan, and again, we're talking about road programs and DOT grant projects. We need to replace Tower 2 and Engine 4 over the next 6 years, additional sewer improvements and DPW equipment, and of course, stormwater projects. The water capital is funded entirely by the water utility revenues and not by tax dollars. In 2018, we're going to spend $1,300,000 to repaint Mary Street tank. And future years, purchases of water meters and general improvements to the water utility. Let's look ahead a little bit. No apparent cap problem in 2019. Our budgetary planning, we're always looking ahead, not just focusing on the current year, in order to be prepared to meet future challenges. By 2021 or 22, the cap could become an issue. $609,000 savings and interest due to early debt retirement this year will help a lot of that. Multi-year budget planning allows the opportunity to address problems before they arrive. And if we look at our 4-year budget projection, we're looking at an increase of 1.9 this year, 3.6, 3.7, 3.6. But we're working already to reduce to 3.6, 3.7, 3.6. I know the council and I like to stay within the 2% cap if possible, and we hope that we'll be able to do that. Bottom line, the budget's up $2,567,000 or 11.9%. It would be only $434,000 or 2% without the $2,680,000 that we're using for early debt retirement. Tax levy is up $289,000 or 1.92%, and we're going to bank $1.5 million in unused tax levy cap. The tax rate up 2.34 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, or 1.9%. And that, members of the council, is the introduction of this year's budget. My thanks go to the Finance Committee of the council who worked with us to make sure that we could give you a budget that made sense and that was realistic and that maintained all the services that residents have come to expect and enjoy. So thank you for your time. Now, I know, Council President, that I've taken up a lot of time, but we do have some important reports. First, I call upon my borough attorney, Michael Pasquale, for his report. Thank you, Mayor. Let me report as briefly as I can on some pretty significant events that have occurred in the last several weeks. First of all, Mid-America Salt, you're all aware that Judge Wigington in the federal court dismissed the complaint against us and all other municipalities. The plaintiff has filed what's called a motion to reconsider, basically saying, Judge, you made a mistake, reverse yourself. She's not likely to do so. We've joined in the opposition that has been filed. I'll report back on that. I do have one significant piece of news on the Goffelbrook Park matter, which of course had languished in the appellate division until recently. The Attorney General has now certified the record on appeal, so therefore we have now finally received late last week a scheduling order so that the briefs will be due. Our brief and appendix is now due on May 3rd. We continue to fight this fight, and we continue to believe that the eyesore that was created in that park, which is only going to become far more noticeable once the weather clears, is something we want to oppose, and we will oppose. A very important decision was rendered a couple weeks ago on the affordable housing front. I think all of you have seen in the paper. I've also advised you as to what was decided. Judge Jacobson, who is the assignment judge in Mercer County, conducted a 41-day trial in which she heard basically what boiled down to Princeton and West Windsor, the remaining towns in the county of Mercer. And what she really did was take the state and say how many affordable housing units are required to be built from 2015 to 2025. And in the middle of the trial, the Supreme Court said, oh, by the way, figure out 1999 to 2015 as well, the so-called gap years. She did, and she did an outstanding job. She issued a 217-page decision, which very largely supported the position of eConsult, who was hired by the consortium of which we are a part, the municipal consortium, Dr. Angelides. She did not have as kind a position towards Dr. Kinsey, the Fair Share Housing Center housing advocate, and she actually did refer to him as an avowed housing advocate because he is. Basically, the numbers have been issued statewide. They're going to be broken down by the 6 regions. We are in Region 1, and then we will get a new municipal number. Joe Burgess is already working on that. As soon as the numbers come out, we will be in a position to revise our numbers. From there, we actually had a conference with Judge Brogan last week, the presiding judge in Passaic County, who has given us till May 15th to now come up with our new fair share plan, which we intend to do. We will have a complete report for this council within the next couple of weeks, and at that time, we think we're going to be in a position to finalize all of our affordable housing obligation with a plan that essentially will rely largely on what's called a vacant land adjustment, because we don't have a lot of land. And so, again, there's a lot of work ahead of us in the coming month, but we will get that all done. I'm not going to report on the band shell tonight because this meeting's gone too long already. I will report, of course, that the Lions Club Beefsteak is Saturday, April 7th. For those of you who need tickets, contact me. And that's it, Mayor. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Michael. Next, I call upon our borough engineer, Stephen T. Boswell, for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. Arlington Avenue is still in winter shutdown. The new borough arborist is working to have 3 trees removed so that Marini Brothers can return to work in the spring. They'd like to start in the next 2 weeks. The band shell is in submittal phases. Things are moving along pretty well. We did get a price to put the block, the brick on. I think you heard, Frank, of almost $20,000, and a price to change to hardy board of around $2,700. So
I want to do the work.
yeah, wouldn't be bad, right? DPW building, the contractor, we are going to be staking out the foundation either this week or next, and he will begin excavation to build the foundation down at the DPW building, which is a big step there. Streetscape project has been addressed in terms of the lighting. The only thing left is that Solar Mite has to provide certified payrolls. Once they do that, we can close out the project, and then the borough can be reimbursed their 95%, which they get for that. Passaic Avenue cross connection, the mayor talked about. That'll be something that we do going forward. Rock Road improvements, I know you always like to hear this. There are two change orders on your docket tonight. One is for a $22,000 deduct, and the other is for a $11,000 deduct. So a total deduction of $33,000. And once that's all done, we'll get the documents and close that out. The water storage tank painting was supposed to be done by Friday. He won't make that date, but we're working with DPW and with administration to get that done as fast as possible. He's moving along. There were some questions about putting some steel in when it wasn't inspected, so we made him take it out and put it back in right. So that's essentially what happened. The road program for 2017, I will do everything I can to have it striped by the next meeting. I'm just not sure because it still has not consistently hit 50 degrees. The municipal pool, the filters are all in. The main line is, they're finishing with all the plumbing improvements. There was a good question from some of the people that saw the pump support base, and they said, you know, this is metal, it's going to corrode in this environment. But fortunately, that particular piece of steel is stainless steel, and it's powder coated, and has an expected life well beyond the pump. So we'll be fine. That was a good question, but we did get the answer on that. 2018 road program was advertised today, and bids are due on April 11th. So we'll be able to award that. Last two things, we're doing an investigation now of the sewer and water department structures. We're looking at the roofs because some of the roofs have some issues, and we want to determine what they need to be repaired. And while we're there, we're going to look at the buildings too. There's no reason not to take a look at, you know, if you need brick pointing and things like that. And finally, Utter Ave, they're going to upgrade the railroad crossing. We had a pre-construction meeting last Friday. The contractor said he will take 5 days to do it. Work will begin on a Monday morning at 7 and continue until 5 p.m. on Friday. He wants to do it in mid-April. When he does that, the rail crossing will be closed for the duration while he does that. Other than that, Mayor, I'll answer questions.
Thank you, Steve. Next is our Borough Administrator, Eric Mauer, for his report.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this brief because of the lengthy agenda. But first of all, I want to thank Lori Foley, the department heads, and of course the Finance Committee for all the work putting together the budget as presented by the mayor. The design for the new website is coming along very well, thanks to your borough clerk. I think everyone will be pleased when it's launched in June. Our CDBG and open space applications, as approved by the council way back in February, were submitted to the county on time. Thus far this year, we've spent 110 of the 198,000 budgeted for snow overtime, salt, and contractors, which should leave enough for the end of the year storms. And of course, we do have a reserve that we've been paying into in case it goes over that. Our arborist has told me that for our one tree planting contract, letters will be going out to homeowners by next week, with the planning to follow by the end of April. For the second contract, for which the list of locations is still being developed, everything will be about 2 weeks later. For the next council meeting, the administration will be presenting a resolution for yet one more antenna lease for the Longview tank. It will be contingent on the tenant being able to transmit and receive without interference to or from our other tenants. It is getting crowded up there.
It's a good thing.
Assuming all works out, I think the council will be pleased with the additional revenue that it generates.
Did you want to tell them how much?
It's $72,000 per year. So I was going to let that hang out there and do it next time, but since
Oh, well, I'm sorry to spoil your little party
Couldn't get
there.
75?
Well, and just to tell you, the same vendor in another town, Eric deserves some applause here. paid $48,000 for the same exact thing. He's paying us $72,000.
We received bids today, actually just one bid for the food concession at the pool this summer. The contract will be presented for approval at next week's meeting. Or 2 weeks meeting, I guess, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. We're receiving bids on April 10th for contracts for tree service and for court fine collections. And now that snow is finally behind us, hopefully, it's time to think about summer. Pre-registration for summer recreation in the pool will begin April 24th. See the website for details, our old website still, www.hawthornenj.org. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Eric. Council President will be happy to answer any questions.
Nobody has any.
I would assume that too.
Does anyone have any questions?
I got a quick one. Mayor, did you change the day for bulk waste in the first week of May? Because you mentioned in your report that the Hawthorne townwide garage sale will follow. It's going to follow. It's not going to. Bulk waste will be. It will a whole month then.
It will not be. It will be first week of June.
Well, bulk waste is May 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the townwide garage sale is the
Right,
5th.
so basically I lied.
I didn't say that, Mayor.
You
were
mistaken. You did not lie. Oh, okay, I was mistaken. I did not
Just
lie.
want to make sure, because that
Okay.
would make sense if we move the bulk waste to the week after that. We don't want to do that?
I don't know that we can with our contract.
We'll check.
But we'll check if that's possible. I think will make more sense.
It would make more sense, Mayor. That's why I'm here for you.
I
And you said
appreciate
Joe
that.
never
Thank
pays
you.
any attention to you.
Yeah, well,
I'm
very
the only
few
one that
people
does
do.
pay attention to him.
Thank you for listening, Joseph. Yes.
We're supposed to start baseball practice this Saturday on the fields.
Field should be ready, I assume.
No,
Bob,
the
are we
weather we
ready?
got- They're ready for practice. Thank you, Bob.
But we can't put stripes down.
We can give you chalk stripes.
Yeah, we could chalk the street. We're striping the foul lines, yeah, but,
It's a little different process, just to.
I'm gonna guess they didn't paint the lines. You think they painted the lines? I'm sure they just did the infields. No, that's all. I have no.
Bruce?
No.
Dominic? No. John?
No, I'm good.
Okay, anything else, Mayor?
no, that concludes the report of the administration.
Motion to record the administrative agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sinning, second by Bertola. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, moving on to our guest of the evening. Sorry to make you wait, but obviously Mr. Swisher's here to give us his comments on our proposed budget. He's had the opportunity to review it. What are your comments, sir?
You're on, no, you're fine.
First, I'd like to commend the administration on the budget presentation. I usually work on 8 or 9 budgets every year, and every year you guys have the most detailed, comprehensive budget presentation. And I won't lie, I've actually taken it and given it to other towns to use as a guide. I hope I'm not in trouble for that.
Did we make money on that?
Making money on that?
That's patented, that presentation.
There was no copyright on it, so I don't know. The couple takeaways that I have, I've been to 2 other introductions prior to tonight, and both of those councils were struggling to get down below $70 for the average house. So you guys got down to 42, so I think you're in good shape with that. Second is your caps, the appropriation cap and tax cap are problems in a lot of other towns. You guys are once again in great shape. I think it goes back to the forward thinking and doing multiple year projections. And the last thing, which once again I've never seen in a town, but paying down the debt the way you guys are doing this year, I think is tremendous, and you deserve kudos for that. It's smart thinking. Those are my takeaways from the budget.
Any negatives?
Not right now.
Okay. Any questions for our auditor?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for waiting in line.
Always last.
But you bared good news. Okay, moving on to budget ordinance number 2208-18 for introduction. The 2018 municipal budget appropriation limits to establish a cap bank pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Be resolved, this ordinance does now pass the first reading, and said ordinance be Considered for further passage at the meeting of the governing body in the municipal building, 445 Lafayette Avenue, Hawthorne, New Jersey, on May 2nd, 2018, and said time and place. All persons interested will be given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the said ordinance in the Hawthorne Press at least 1 week prior to the said hearing, with the notice of its introduction and time and place when and where said ordinance would be considered for final passage. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mealy, second by Lane. Any discussion? Roll call.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertolo?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Mealy?
Yes.
Sinning?
Yes.
Woteki?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Budget resolutions. BR 01-18, authorized conducting an annual budget examination. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sinning, second by Lane. Any discussion? Roll call.
Woteki?
Yes.
Sinning?
Yes.
Mealy?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Bertolo?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
BR 02-18, Certificate of Compliance with the Civil Rights Act. This is a new one for us, but it's required to do before you introduce your budget. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Bennett.
Discussion.
Sure.
All right, so I read all of your comments, and I'm a little sketchy on the practices are generally in compliance with the law. Now, you also wrote that you want to redo your policy for administration. Now, I think I would feel a lot more comfortable if we redid our policy and then we voted for it.
Well, we have to pass this resolution before we can introduce the budget. We are working on the, I mean, I believe we're in compliance. Just reading the stuff, I think that we can be better.
Well, it's an affidavit that has my signature on it, and I feel more comfortable after you rewrite the policy.
Problem is you have to adopt this resolution before
May 2nd.
you can introduce.
You can't introduce your budget.
Before you
I gotta
introduce
tell
the
you, I'm
budget.
voting no then.
You can vote no, but
If we knew it was a problem, we should have done the policy.
It's not a problem.
Well, then we
look-
generally comply.
We do comply. There is compliance. What there is not is ways to always do it better. So we need to look at ways to improve. But we are in compliance. I've given Eric my opinion that we do comply. Eric is saying the word generally comply. I understand that because, generally means that there's room for improvement. But like I said, we do comply. It's my opinion that we're in compliance.
Yeah, what
I
they
don't
asked.
see your name on it.
They didn't ask me to put my name on it. I would have. And I wouldn't have used the word generally. No offense to Eric, I'm just saying. I think we comply, but I think we can do better. That's what I'm saying.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and basically, there are some best practices which we want to implement. You don't have to have the best practices in order to be in compliance. And that's what I mean, is that we want to do the best practices as recommended. We don't want to just merely be in compliance.
So for clarification, if I vote no and don't sign the document, you can't introduce the budget.
Well, you'd be one vote. If But a couple of your colleagues, majority of full membership. Right. So if two of your colleagues vote with you, we have a problem. But
That's
what
never
I'm-
happened.
Yeah, I know. I'm really not that worried.
I don't think you have to worry about it.
No, I think, Joe, seriously, Joe, I wouldn't tell you that we're not in compliance. We are in compliance, but we should do better. And we
I just
will.
wish we would have.
This was a law that was signed
No,
late
no.
in the year, last year, and
hear
we don't look at our best practices until later in the year generally.
Yeah, and the Department, the Division of Local Government Services and the Department of Community Affairs apparently promulgated a.
All right, Michael made the sale.
Okay.
Roll call.
Stop selling.
Bennett?
I'm going to vote generally yes.
I was gonna say, that's not fair.
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Mealy?
Yes.
Sinning?
Yes.
Woteki?
I was gonna say generally less. Oh, yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Damn it.
BR 03-18, introduction of the 2018 municipal budget. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Sinning. Any discussion? Let the chairman wrap up after any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I think the presentation and the budget appears to be excellent. I took a lot of time going through it. And I would like to say that I think as an administration, we need to do, not as an administration, but the administration needs to do a much better job of heralding their budget. And I loved your analogy of what is a cable bill versus what your municipal budget is. And I know what my cable bill is, and it is greater than what our municipal costs
Mine
are
too.
per
Yep.
month. And I think that the administration, it would behoove the administration to do a better job.
Thank you.
All right. I just want to take a moment, Chairman of the Finance Committee, to thank Mayor, his administrative team, especially Eric and Lori Foley, and I've said this a million times, all department heads that work so diligently on putting the budget together. We've been doing this for a long time, 15 years I think we've been on, or 14 years I've been on the Budget Committee, and every year the challenges grow, and every year we meet those challenges, and especially Eric and Lori, you know, their expertise and the debt service reconciliation that we were doing was Eric's recommendation. We agreed with it wholeheartedly, but those are the things I think Eric goes unheralded. He gets beat up quite often for a lot of things in town, but we are very, very fortunate to have him and his expertise putting our budget together. So thank you, and I look forward to the introduction May 2nd.
Just
or the
just
adoption,
one
I should say.
comment, if I could, Council President. One of the reasons why we've been so successful is that we're all rowing in the same direction. We're working together as a team, and it's a lot easier when everybody wants to succeed than in sometimes in the past where there were conflicting emotions, let's just say. It's a lot easier when we all row together.
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Roll call.
Woteki.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Introduction of ordinances. We have bond ordinance number 2209-18, bond ordinance providing for the installation of stamped concrete and related curb and sidewalk improvements along identified sections of Lafayette Avenue, all in the borough of Hawthorne in the county of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $310,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of bonds or notes of the borough for financing of the same. Be resolved, this ordinance does now pass the first reading of said ordinance and be further considered for final passage at a meeting of the governing body in the municipal building, 445 Lafayette Ave, Hawthorne, New Jersey, on April 18, 2018, at 7 p.m., at which time and place all persons interested will be given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the said ordinance in the Hawthorne Press once and post on the borough website at least 1 week prior to said hearing, with notice of introduction of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be considered for final passage. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bennett, second by Mealy. Obviously, we were looking for our grant to cover the cost of this, but the state obviously did not come through as they said they would. So we're going alone. Any questions?
This is just a project that we have to finish, from Diamond Bridge up to the library.
Well, Cedar Avenue.
Cedar up to the library.
All the way up to all uniform.
Right.
So,
Roll call.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Mealy.
yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Woteki. Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2210-18, ordinance to amend Chapter 25 of the Code of the Borough of Hawthorne, Department of the Public Safety, Article 2, Police Department, Section 25-12, Contracted Off-Duty Employment, Subsection D, Rates of Compensation, Administrative Fee, and Payment for Services, so to modify the rates thereunder for off-duty services in the Hawthorne Public Schools. Be it resolved, this ordinance does now pass a first reading, and said ordinance be further considered for final passage at a meeting of the governing body in the municipal building, 445 Lafayette Avenue, Hawthorne, New Jersey, on April 18th, 2018, at 7 p.m., at which time and place all persons interested will be given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same, and the clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the ordinance in the Hawthorne Press once and posted on the borough website at least 1 week prior to the said hearing, with notice of its introduction and time and place when and where said ordinance would be considered for final passage. You have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Bennett, second by Lane. Any discussion?
Council President, if I could, I just want to thank the PBA for volunteering to do this with the school system. They're making quite a personal sacrifice to do this at this rate. But again, they believe that they have children in schools and they know how they feel about our children, so they're doing this, and I think they should be congratulated and lauded for what they're willing to do as well.
I agree. I don't like spending money, but I've never been more convinced of an expenditure than I am on this one. This ordinance probably typifies the reason I've lived in Hawthorne for so long and raised my children here. Because it's a safe community, and it's a safe community because we all work together to make it that way.
Roll call.
Wadecki.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ruttolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolutions, consent agenda R48-18 through R54-18. R48-18, Borough of Hawthorne payroll dated March 2nd and March 16th, 2018. R49-18, payment of school taxes. R50-18, payment of added omitted county taxes. R51-18, award of 2018-2019 custodial services. R52-18, award of engineering services for the Mary Street tank. R53-18, an open space grant application for the Environmental Commission. And R54-18, change order for Rock Road improvements of the 2016 road program. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Sinning, second by Bertolo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Bennett.
Yes.
Ruttolo.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Wadecki.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Off consent agenda, we have R55-18, appropriation of reserve transfers. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mealy, second by Lane. Any discussion?
Yes. If we look at, I did not see this in my packet, and I apologize, because 55-18, if you look in your packet, is the as-built for Rock Road Improvement Change Order 3A and final.
Councilman, I did go through and renumber everything. I honestly didn't want to make 13 copies of the guts again.
Got it.
For the previous
So 54-18 becomes 55-18, so is that what?
Correct.
Right, that's
So
right.
the agenda is correct.
We just got bumped down one.
And the original resolutions that we're signing are correct.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good eye.
Shows you read it.
Yeah.
Any points?
It really does.
I really do.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Wadecki.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ruttolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes, reports of special council committees. Joe, we'll start your way.
All right. Shade Tree Commission met. Let me go to my notes from April 2nd. I'm going to make it March 2nd. March 2nd. I'll make it, I'm just going to touch on the finer points due to the lateness of this meeting. Our next meeting is April 2nd. That's where I have right here. We did discuss at nauseum the Asplund work that is being done throughout the community. Asplund is the contractor which was hired by PSE&G. There was discussion of the shade tree and the posting on social media. The outstanding item continues to be our past arborist, and I'm sure administration continues to work on that issue.
We are.
And those were the higher items from the Shade Tree Commission.
Gary.
I have nothing.
John.
Finance, I spoke already.
Bruce.
Yes, the Public Works Committee met on March the 19th, in between all of our many nor'easters. And Steve covered most of the items that were reported to us. But I'd like to give our Public Works Department huge kudos this month. They were stretched thin and they came through like champs. Those roads were down to the blacktop after every storm and kept our residents safe, and they did a great job. The Board of Recreation met, let's see, when did they meet? On the 14th, and it was, the usual stuff, budgetary stuff and that. The one thing they did bring up, that the Rutgers coaching certification course was held on March the 22nd. So if you were planning to coach this year and you weren't there, better luck next year. And on behalf of the Public Safety Committee, I attended opening night of the Junior Police Academy. Our police do a wonderful job with the youth in town. It's going to be another huge success. They had over 90 children at Lincoln School Monday night, and since several have signed up but couldn't be there, they expect to have well over 100 in this year's program. So to our officers, great job, guys. That concludes my reports.
Eric, did you send out that memo to the public safety regarding the issue we talked about, to set up a meeting for?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Monday.
Just wanted to verify. Okay.
Yep.
Dominic?
On April 25th, Municipal Alliance is sponsoring a dinner show again. The Hawthorne High School is doing Cinderella. I believe it's 6 o'clock, Ellen, right, dinner?
Dinner's usually at 5, I think.
5? Oh, it's 5 o'clock.
You would have been late.
No, they come to miss dinner.
There's an early bird at 5 for those that can't wait till 6.
And there'll be a show afterwards. That's it.
John?
Yeah, for the year-end 2017, for the Board of Health, there was 1,272 dog licenses issued, 44 cat licenses, and there was 150 dogs and cats got vaccinated. The rabies clinic for 2018 is May 8th at 6 p.m. at the ambulance building at 970 Goffel Road. That concludes the report from the Board of Health.
Okay. Planning Board met last week, and they approved the self-storage facility that's going on the site of the old International Bakery. There'll be about 1,000 units in the building. It's 3 stories high with a full basement. We did ask them to shift it over a little bit closer to Dunkin' Donuts so that they could get more parking spaces. That was a point of contention at the beginning. So they're able to get from 9 spaces to 15 spaces, even though they said they didn't need it. Best practices of ones we visited showed more of that nature of number. So it should be a gateway project for that part of town to finally redevelop that project, or that site. And it was a nice looking building when you saw the rendering, so if anybody wants to take a look at it, I'm sure the mayor's got a copy, take a look at it. Now, it's not like green and orange like the public safety, public storage. It was actually a nice looking building.
I see short load. Weren't they originally going to across the street?
No, that wasn't short load, that's a different, the short load is down in the Congress Mill.
Congress Mill,
corner.
yes.
There is a concrete company or a cement manufacturer, as Michael
Not a
would
cement
call it.
manufacturer, apparently, they just mix it, they don't make it.
That was approved to go in there, and he was going, but he's slow to be occupying, I believe.
I think they're working on the
They're working on
property.
the inside of the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah,
I see
they're just a little
trucks there.
slow, you're just not seeing the difference yet.
Okay.
All right, that concludes committee reports. Correspondence, we have C1, new firefighter applications for Antonio Napolitano of Company 1 and Rashawn Byfield of Engine 3. Have a motion?
So moved.
Moved.
Motion by Bennett, second by Bertolo. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertolo?
Yes.
Lane?
Abstain?
Neely?
Yes.
Sinning?
Yes.
Woteki?
Abstain.
Matthews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Bills as amended. Can I have a motion to approve the bills of March 7th and March 21st, 2018, and forward them to the treasurer for payment?
So moved.
Motion by Mealy, second by Bertolo. I can't remember doing 2 in one motion in my lifetime. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Roll call. Or any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Woteki?
Abstain on the fire department, yes on all others.
Sinning?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Lane?
Abstain on the fire department and the ambulance corps, yes on all others.
Bertolo?
Abstain on downstreet service, yes on all others.
Bennett?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment, I'll now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address. Mr. Sprito. Superintendent. Superintendent, I'm sorry I slighted your title.
Rick
So used to
Sprito,
calling you
1874,
Father Doc.
Superintendent of the Hawthorne Public Schools. I just wanted to thank the mayor and the council for introducing this school security ordinance. I appreciate Mayor and Eric and the Finance Committee meeting with myself and Mr. Doyle about a week ago. Obviously, school security is extremely important to myself and all of us in the Hawthorne Public Schools, and I appreciate just the opportunity to talk about it and obviously the support from the mayor and council with this ordinance tonight. Although, again, we work very hard to ensure the safety of our students in our schools, I think this addition will just improve what we've tried to do in the school. So thank you very much, and that's on behalf of all of our students and all of our staff. We really, really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to getting started. I also, as the mayor mentioned, I didn't thank the Hawthorne Police Department. I mean, obviously, their support goes well beyond just this ordinance. I mean, they've supported our district since I've been here, and I'm sure even before that, many, many years, they've been in the Hawthorne Public Schools. So I have to thank Chief McAuliffe and all the members of the Hawthorne Police Department for their ongoing support. You know, whether it's programs for our students or this ordinance, we appreciate all that they do for us. And finally, I just want to also comment, Councilman Bennett mentioned about the Public Works Department. It's been a busy winter, as we all know, but the Public Works Department, I think, has done an outstanding job, and we appreciate, again, their support in helping to clear the areas around the schools, obviously the roads, but the areas around the school specifically. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I almost jumped too quick.
You weren't quick enough?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Abigail Goff, trustee on the Board of Education, also, more importantly, a mom who lives at 14 Robertson Avenue. I would like to echo Mr. Sprito's sentiment in that we cannot thank you enough for the partnership you are about to make with us. Something we've wanted for years, but we're not able to fiscally or physically pull it off. It came down to having to educate or keep them safe, so we can do both now. Thank you so much. Do you need me to sign?
It's our pleasure.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Witecki, second by Sitting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Vitolo, second by Witecki. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regular meeting of the Municipal Council is April 4th, 2018 at 7 p.m. We're adjourned.
Not bad.